Stay connected. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.
Ladies and gentlemen, opening up the public hearing. It is October 19th. This is the City of Cortland Common Council meeting, and prior to the opening of the meeting, public hearing regarding the rezoning of a piece of property on River/Port Watson Street, tax ID number 87.53-03-16.200. And to further clarify, this is a landlocked parcel. And as I look at the big map on my wall, this is north of Port Watson and west of River, and also east of East Ave. It's backed up by backyards on all three streets. And the request in terms of rezoning is to repurpose it as part of the project for Burn Dairy. The public hearing is officially open. If anybody is present and would like to speak, you have a couple of ways for me to recognize you. One is to raise your hand virtually. And there's a thing that will allow you to raise a little hand on the screen. Second way would be to type into the chat saying, I would like to speak regarding Burn Dairy and the public hearing, and I will recognize you. Third way, you can give me a wave, but I warn you, I have more than 2 pages in terms of attendees, and I may not see you. So if you are here to speak for the public hearing regarding rezoning a small parcel, please raise your hand. I do see Judge Larry Knickerbocker has a hand up, and we're going to ask that comments during public hearing are limited to 3 minutes in length and are directed to counsel and deal directly with the subject at hand. Mr. Knickerbocker, the floor is yours. If you can unmute yourself.
Okay, Mayor, I think I did that. Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
We can.
All right. Yes, I'm here to speak on the public hearing on that rezoning. I reviewed the agenda that was put out on Friday afternoon. And after I reviewed it, I looked back through my file relative to this of all the documentation that I had received and requested, which had been provided to me. And I would note that nowhere did I find in there, in the documentation, an environmental assessment form for this particular, submitted by this applicant for this rezoning issue. This is the type of matter that there has to be a seeker review. I would note that there's no seeker review listed on the agenda for this evening. This is an alleged unlisted action. It didn't go through the coordinated review process. So each agency, and each agency in this instance would be the Planning Commission, the ZBA, and the Common Council, needs to undertake and do their own independent seeker review process. And in doing that, they have to consider the total cumulative impact of the project associated with the zone change. And that would include such things as vehicular traffic, health, safety, building over the aquifer, the underground tank and the water table, the proximity to the Tioughnioga River, the pedestrian traffic, etc. So I would just state that I note on item 15 is the consideration of the local law, and I think it would be an egregious error to undertake that without having the applicant having submitted an EIF and then the Common Council going through and reviewing it and making some findings and determinations. That's all I have. I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Larry. And a reminder, in order to participate, please make sure that you are going to have your screen on and have your name displayed. This was something that council asked for. We've had this discussion many moons ago at this point. And polite reminder, please make sure you have your name on the screen. And if you would like to participate, make sure that you're going to turn your camera on. I do have a request. Tom Michaels, did you want to read somebody else's statement?
Yes, an individual wasn't able to attend tonight, and it's an overall statement of the whole entity involved, not just a little parcel that's we'll be voting on tonight. If that's all right.
Floor is yours.
This is a whole grocery list of items. I'm just gonna sum these up the best I can. Traffic congestion is already difficult to exit Kellogg, and that's with a traffic light to assist us. Will be twice as bad with the added traffic more than 50 feet away from Port Watson and River Street. Refueling of the underground tanks, large trucks, tankers trying to enter and exit will cause delays and may cause pollution problems in the proximity of the river. I'm not sure what that's about, but I'm just reading their statement. We already have a Snowglen Speedway, half-mile up the road. Another Snowglen Speedway, 2 miles in Polkville. Now we have 4 gas stations and mini marts. Do we really need 6 stations and mini marts at a distance of 8 miles? We definitely don't need any more traffic problems. So basically, this individual is making it known that traffic, in their estimation, is going to be a concern. And that pretty much sums up the whole page. And you muted, Brian.
Very good. Thank you, Tom.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Is anybody else present that would like to speak? This is the public hearing regarding the rezoning of a piece of property. And as I think most people are aware, this is a request for Burn Dairy to turn it into, use that and 2 other parcels to become a store. Floor is still open if there's anybody that would like to speak. All right, hearing none, seeing none, we will call the first public hearing of the evening officially closed. And the second public hearing is on amending Article 6 in the charter, in the city code, excuse me, overlay district section 300-61 floodway zone district. Public hearing is officially open. You can send me a message directly in the chat. What I've tried to do is to streamline things. The chat, you are able to speak with myself as a host, but not amongst the group. This is something else that we did a couple months ago. I understand when people do like to communicate with each other, but it's been more streamlined, having the chat come directly to myself. You can raise your hand virtually or give me some sort of verbal signal if you would like the floor. Public hearing on amending Article 6 overlay districts. And this is about potential to allow structures within a flooding zone, making the city code no more restrictive than state code. I think that's the most concise way to express that. I'm not seeing anybody at this point, but the public hearing is still open. Second call. And last call, is there anybody present that would like to speak to this? This is the potential for altering city code, and in particular, overlay districts, a floodway zone. Hearing none, seeing none, we'll call this public hearing officially closed. Thank you, everyone. I will, per usual, mute everybody and turn the camera to face the Star-Spangled Banner. And if we call rise, if you're able, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There we go. Public comments. Everybody has the opportunity for up to 3 minutes to address the council this evening. And similar to the public hearings, you can either type your name into the chat, signifying that you would like the opportunity to speak during public comment. You can raise your hand virtually or try to give me a wave. Although once again, with 2 screens of participants, I might miss you. So this is the opportunity for public comments. I'm going to give another couple seconds. And seeing nobody volunteering interest in public comments, we can move on to the mayor's report. Mayor's report. We had a request last week, and it was a little bit later than, well, we're a little short-staffed this past week, and I apologize, but I'd like council to add an agenda item. This is a fall pumpkin giveaway, and the opportunity for pumpkins to be given out free to people in the community. This was done previously by a local individual and group, and I'm not sure, but I believe they were just unable to do it this year. But April Betty, who has coordinated not 1 but 2 community matter fairs, is interested in picking this up potentially on Saturday, October 23rd. So will council entertain adding the agenda item to discuss this?
Yes.
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 All right, in the interest, I'll try to tuck it in as number 3. And I'd like to give a brief update, maybe on a couple of things. First of all, I received some questions about the DRI, and the DRI in terms of the public projects is on time in terms of what we have planned. So as a refresher for some who may not have been around or may not have heard where we currently are, we had the opportunity to potentially start work for the DRI this past September 1. And after discussion with various downtown stakeholders, there was, and I think warranted, a lot of concern about starting construction in the fall, in particular coming off of COVID. And you're also having issues in terms of an increase in the population in the community. And these are new customers in terms of some of the businesses and restaurants downtown. So giving people the opportunity to form their spending habits, and then if there's other things in the way, that can be problematic. So as was discussed, we made a conscious decision to push construction back to the beginning of construction season in 22. This is still 2021, right? So next March-ish is when we can expect to see work being done. And after getting some calls and some concern, I did reach out to Fisher, the architect who we hired, and Fisher, Tim Faulkner from Fisher, confirmed that yes, we are on track, not just in terms of planning, but also in terms of the bids. And as a refresher, how did we get Fisher? We were very aggressive in terms of marketing for an engineering firm. And what we did was actually mailed, my gosh, it was a lot of envelopes that went out, but basically if you were in upstate New York and a firm that may have qualified to potentially have done this, we sent you a letter requesting that you put in a bid. And we had Chris Bastocki, who was the superintendent of public works at the time, myself, and Gary Van Gorder, who's in charge of the BDC IDA. Gary has been a valued partner in the DRI going all the way back to when we first put the proposal together. We interviewed different firms, and this was the firm that we came up with. It was a very open process all the way through. So the DRI is on track. We're excited about that. And I know that there are some questions in terms of the streets that are currently milled. I know that it creates some issues, but I'll tell you, I'm actually quite grateful that we have the number of streets milled that we do, because it means that there's going to be fresh pavement and within a short couple of weeks. And on top of that, the streets that have been torn up for quite some time, not just the pavement, but the infrastructure underneath. We've had a very good, strong, long-term vision and continue to replace necessary infrastructure throughout the city. And, you know, one of the biggest problems has been water. And one of the biggest places in terms of leaks in our system, despite what some may think, is actually manhole covers. And I know that there's been some discussion about other issues, but where manholes are, when the cement between the bricks starts to come apart, you get a lot of leakage there. And that's where a lot of the problems in terms of a significant increase with water going to the wastewater treatment plant when there's storms, it's typically where that comes from, not roofs on some structures. It's the system that's in place. So we've been working diligently and within our financial capacity to replace that. And we've been doing quite well in terms of replacing necessary infrastructure in a timely manner. That should cover it for the mayor's report for this evening. And I'm looking, we're going to move on. Approval of the minutes from our last council meeting. We have a motion from council, and I'll ask council to please unmute yourselves. First off, asking for a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting. Katie Silliman, does that have support from John Bennett? Are there any concerns or questions regarding the minutes from our last meeting? That would have been October 5th. Troy Beckwith.
Resolution number 254 of 2021. I was a nay, not an A.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Are there any potential corrections or alterations for the minutes? Hearing none, we'll make that one alteration and then ask everybody with that change, are we comfortable with filing the minutes? Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. And we have a presentation from Elin Dowd, who is the consortium, the executive director for the Tompkins County Healthcare Consortium. And this is on the current state of the consortium and future initiatives. For those who might be unaware, City of Cortland has been a proud member of the Tompkins County Healthcare Consortium. It's been a wonderful cost savings measure. It's helped us manage our costs and still provide high quality healthcare for our employees. Elin, welcome. Welcome to the City of Cortland virtually.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's nice to be with you all this evening. And I thank Mac for opening the door for me to come and share just a few comments with you. I usually like opening my presentations with a quote, and I was looking for something from Colin Powell to quote this evening, but I couldn't find anything particular for this, other than he did talk about the uninsured quite a bit. So I pivoted and I went in a totally different direction. Looking at our new marketing brochures, we have quotes from several of our members, including a quote from your very own Mac Cook. And what Mac had to say about the consortium and is what we use in our marketing materials is the consortium is a very high performing example of a shared service and has brought the cost of health insurance under control for us. So building on Matt's theme of keeping costs under control, tonight I will mention just a few things that are keeping consortium health insurance costs under control for all our members. We just had our annual board meeting in September, and we took action on receiving new members, approving the budget, and setting premium rates for 2022. Our goal continues to be to provide rate stabilized health insurance for our members. Our average premium increase for the last 5 years is 4.8%, with a 5% increase for 2022. Includes that. That's pretty unusual in this business. Most employers the size of the city of Cortland on average received an 8.7% increase from our partner Excelis. For those who are have direct health insurance with Excelis, on average it was 8.7%. So owning your own health plan and managing your assets wisely has paid off for this shared service. And because of that, people are anxious to join our organization. Last year, we asked permission from the Department of Financial Services to expand. We found there was demand for our product and much encouragement to expand in central upstate New York. 3 of our 4 new members we accepted at the board meeting are from 2 of the new 9 counties included in our new certificate of authority. As we continue to expand, we will make sure we grow slowly and smartly to increase our risk pool to provide less fluctuation in performance and not let the growth of claims outpace the growth in premiums. Towards that end, we have started long-term business planning discussions on managing expected growth. Our budget continues to show we are an efficient organization with 95% of all expenses going to cover the cost of claims. That remains consistent even with moving administrative costs away from consultants and contractors to full-time staff members. Administrative fees continue to be less than 2% of our total expenses. That's another unusual statistic for healthcare organizations. Our membership is changing in other ways as well. Tompkins County, one of our largest members, has a very aging employee base, and the retiree costs continue to grow. They're negotiating new contracts with their labor groups to offer middle level plans at much more competitive rates. They're encouraging participation in wellness incentive programs, and they're offering a Medicare supplement plan instead of traditional indemnity plans to the retirees. Tompkins County moved over 150 retirees to the Medicare supplement plan at the beginning of 2021. This lowered costs for the municipality as well as for the retirees. TC3 and City of Ithaca are considering doing the same. As I mentioned previously, we're embarking on strategic planning activities to review how we can continue to grow in membership, remain efficient, provide better services to our members, and keep our rates stable. We want to continue our success of properly servicing claims in historically normal environments, also to be ready to service in times of unique increases, but also able to share savings with our members in times of low claims activity, like we did last year through the premium holiday. Yesterday and today, we hosted meetings for municipal benefit clerks to talk about some of the enhancements in services coming from both ProAct and Excelis. We have great partners, and we have enough clout with them to be able to ask for and to receive improved customer service and coordinate benefit offerings like moving to one ID card for both medical and dental plans in 2022. As we grow, we will continue to look for partners that will give your employees the information they need to make wise healthcare decisions, find access to care when they need it, and encouraging healthy lifestyles in the process. Thank you to the City of Cortland for your leadership in being active and valuable members. Look forward to working with you next year as we find new ways to expand this business without losing the values that brought you to us in the first place. So before I bid you adieu, are there any questions I can address for you this evening regarding the consortium?
All right, any questions from the council for Elan? John, I'm gonna give somebody else first crack if there is, because, all right, John Bennett.
I'm gonna make sure I'm unmuted. Elin, first off, thank you very much for coming. I do think back at one of the many meetings I attended with Mac, we might have met, but unfortunately it has been a few years since I've been able to attend. I thank you very much for going over about the Medicare Advantage plans that the consortium now offers. As somebody who is retired and on Medicare, my wife and I both have a Medicare Advantage plan as the subsidy that is needed. Our problem here in the city, as I'm sure you know, is we have so many retirees who just don't want to give up their city plan. But is there a better way to clear up the controversy that they don't gain anything by having the city plan as the subsidy to Medicare? They really don't. And yet their portion of what they have to pay out of our huge policy is probably more than what they would have to pay for an Advantage plan. What suggestions do you have?
So I think I'll refer back to Tompkins County and some of the success they had. They did, really push for this change. But before they voted on the change, before they took any action on the change, they did a lot of communicating by pulling together statistics. And they worked with the consortium. We worked with to pull numbers, which include both Excelis and ProAct claims, and to look at how we are supplementing Medicare's coverage, because Medicare's coverage is pretty comprehensive. And what we cover is what Medicare does not cover. So there was a lot of education. It didn't happen overnight. And what we found, or what Tompkins County found, was specific leaders within that organization, retirees that understood the value of having a supplemental plan or an Advantage plan, and using those leaders to understand how these plans are different, and to really put dollars and cents in front of individuals that are on very restricted incomes at that time in their life, and showing them the difference. And then we supported their efforts by attending meetings, answering questions, putting together documents. But it was a long process. It wasn't overnight. And we continue to, for some of these other communities that are looking at it, we talk to retirees who get it, and they will call us and they will say, please explain to me why I should be paying more for the indemnity plan. And, usually we say, we can't explain that because you're overinsured. You're spending way too much money on premiums for a benefit you're never going to access. And then we walk them through what the Medicare supplement benefits are. So more than happy to go through that whole process with the city of Portland, and to talk about the plans we currently offer. We're looking to increase the Medicare Advantage opportunities to our members. But it's a process, and we'll go through that process with you.
Elin, thank you so much. We have been doing it. I am leaving in 2 months. So a word to those on council that will be here again next year and whoever might be, this is something you have to do because, for example, with what the policies are going up to in cost, especially the family coverage, if 10 retirees or 15 retirees were to switch to the Medicare Advantage plan and get off the city plan, not only do they save money and get coverage just as good, but the city would start to save $150,000 to $200,000 a year of taxpayers' money. And that's just if 10 to 15 retirees converted. So, Alan, thank you so much. I wish you the best. Your group, I've always been impressed with those that have been there. And I'm actually at my camp just north of Little Union Springs, which is in the consortium.
Great member.
Mayor Bud, a wonderful mayor, but even the little village of Union Springs is in the consortium. Alan, thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the comments.
Mayor,
Katie,
even though Mac and it sounds like John have been working at talking to our retirees about switching, I think it would be helpful if Ellen's willing to come up and make her pitch to them. I think that would be fabulous because clearly people aren't getting the message or not understanding the savings, and the numbers John quoted are impressive. The amount of money taxpayers could save to do a lot of good things. So, thank you.
Be more than happy to do that.
standing. Yeah, these the budgetary questions become more challenging every year. This is definitely an opportunity if it can be pursued with regard to the cost of retiree health care. We have had conversations about our current plan, and there are options in terms of what we can be doing, but some of our conversations, you know, it's difficult because change for many people is a challenge. And even though we have been able to point to other members of the consortium that have moved to similar plans and the success that it has had, not just for the municipality, but the membership, the people that are paying and receiving the benefit, we've had a hard time getting some traction. So this is something that hopefully we can continue to work on. Elin, thank you. I assume there's no further questions.
Thank you. Thanks for your great partnership.
Pleasure. And then agenda item number 2, consideration of a resolution to approve and adopt the 2022 amendment to the Municipal Cooperative Agreement for the Greater Tompkins County Municipal Health Insurance Consortium. Looking for a motion to consider. Troy Beckwith, second. John Bennett. Discussion.
Been a great thing for the city. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carries. Very good. And then number 3, this is our new number 3, recent addition. Consideration of a resolution to approve the fall pumpkin giveaway. And along with the approval to waive the fee, because there's a Bluetooth, the request, waive the sound device permit fee. There's a request for a Bluetooth speaker for music, and also to accept other as needed. So motion to consider. Katie Silliman, second. Sam Adams, discussion. And I am checking page 1 and now page 2. April, I see you.
Hi.
April, can you give us a 1-minute summary of what it is that you're planning on doing? Say hi to Axel.
So I hope everyone's doing well this weekend. As Brian mentioned a little bit earlier, sorry, 1 second. Talk. So as Brian mentioned a little bit earlier, this is a event that John North of the chapel usually puts on every year. He works with the outreach program there at the church. So I reached out to him this year and I asked him when he was going to do it. And unfortunately, he said due to extenuating circumstances, he wasn't. Since I helped him out last year and I saw firsthand how much this really does mean to the community, I wanted to make sure that it still happened. So I've been busting my little hind end to kind of like put this together last minute, but I'm hoping that you guys wouldn't mind if I served some free cider, free donuts, had a little table with some pumpkin painting. I got a really good deal on pumpkins, as many as I could stack for $100. So they're not the prettiest pumpkins, but I have over 150 of them to give away. So I was going to set up a little table so that some of the kids could come and paint their pumpkins right there. And hopefully if there's a couple of cute ones, we could put them on display somewhere in the city. So the date was a little bit wrong though, because there's Artisan Elements is doing like a very big event at one of the local farms on the 23rd. I actually thought it would be better to do this Sunday, the 24th at 5 p.m. in Courthouse Park. As long as that little detail is okay. Figured everybody was going to be at the other event, so nobody would come to mine. But I mean, it's all free, so maybe.
What time again, April?
Starting at 5 p.m.
5 p.m.
Mm-hmm. I expect to be cleaned up by 7 p.m.
I so appreciate your willingness to single-handedly spearhead, if not pull it off by yourself. I know you get a lot of people helping you, but you've been galvanizing a lot of great events in our community, and I so appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Like I said, when I was younger, I grew up in this city, and there used to be so much, even before the pandemic, or well, there used to be so much that they don't do anymore, even before the pandemic ever happened. So I've made it like my personal goal to like give children now the experience that I had when I was growing up. And I'm fighting the pandemic to do it, but I'm putting up a good fight, I think.
You are. You really are. Thank you.
And Mayor, I have a question, Brian.
Bruce.
I think it's a great idea too. I'm just wondering, April, it's starting to get dark by 7. Is there a way maybe you might want to start this at 4 so you have a little more daylight for the event, or is that doesn't work for you?
No, nope. That does work for me. I was thinking, I know people still work weekends, especially right now. So I was thinking about doing it later in the day, but I'm totally open to doing it at 4. The reason why I said until 7 is because I think it's going to take us around a half hour to clean it up. And I don't expect to have anybody coming after 6 p.m. or
Okay,
well,
no.
like 6:30.
It's your event. I'm not, if you want to do it at 5, that makes sense for you. That makes perfect sense. I see your reasoning. I just realized myself going out and about that it's getting darker earlier. That's all.
Yeah. I think it's dark. It's like dark right around 6:30 now. So I was already thinking, oh, well, we have to clean up in the dark, but it might make more sense to do it at 4 now that you say that.
Okay. So do you want to switch to 4?
Yeah, let's switch it to 4 p.m.
Okay.
Making a note. So we're looking at 4 to 6 p.m. on the 24th.
24th.
Correct?
Yep, Sunday. This coming Sunday.
All right. Is there any further questions?
I just think this sounds like a great event, and I know you've been doing a lot to get it put together, so I'm excited for it.
Yes, definitely. I'm excited for the painting of the pumpkins, and I decided to use my model from the safety plan from the Community Matters Fair when we were painting the rocks, kind of in the same way. So I'll have the table set up the same way for socially distancing and single-use paintbrushes and everything else like that.
I have to say, last year, the Community Matters Fair, that was a lot of events canceled, and it was a wonderful event. I'd say it was the best event, not just that day, but all summer in terms of what I saw going on. And similar this year. A lot of kids had great times, and excited that you're able to step up and help out this April.
Yes. And I did get some great pictures of you in the dunk tank. I can't wait to share them with the community.
Very good. I'm excited to see them as well. It's interesting when people put forward pictures. Talk about that later. Bill Carpenter.
So can I do it?
Absolutely.
Yay.
Bill.
Where is this going to be at? I'm sorry.
Courthouse Park.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you have a better idea. John North has done it at Courthouse Park historically for the last 8 years.
Okay.
So I figured I'd keep it in the right spot if I was going to take over for him.
Thanks.
It's a good spot.
Now we vote.
Very good. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you, April.
Thank you, guys.
And now we're looking at item number 4, resolution to accept, recognize, and appropriate the following donation to the Youth Bureau. A donation from the United Way, and it's from the Day of Caring. Motion to consider. Troy Beckwith, second. Katie Silliman, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Carries. And speaking of Youth Bureau, some may have noticed that the basketball courts over at Suggett Park, there are new backboards up. Unfortunately, the park is not completely done. Some questions came forward. The paving for the new courts consistent with some of the other paving. So we are coordinating projects appropriately and not just our roads. Agenda item number 5, resolution lift the hiring freeze for the city police department to replace a crossing guard who will be retiring on October 22nd. Motion to consider. Bill Carpenter, second. Katie Silliman, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. 19 years. Appreciate the crossing guard service. And then number 6, allow the police department to hire another crossing guard to replace the one who is retiring, effective October 22nd. Motion to consider. Katie Silliman, second. John Bennett, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Number 7, consideration of resolution to authorize the mayor to appoint 2 new members to the police commission. And we are looking for approval for Cheryl Michaels and Mike Whitlock. Motion to consider. Bill Carpenter, second. Troy Beckwith, discussion. Tom.
I need to abstain on this for personal reasons.
What would you prefer if I break it out and do one at a time?
However we want to do it.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right, so I need a approval to Troy, go ahead.
Just a quick question for Paul. Obviously, you looked us all over. You're comfortable with them?
Absolutely.
Okay, just
both
checking. I figured you did. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't putting somebody in there that you weren't comfortable with. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
All right, so we do have a motion on the floor. I'm going to ask for council a motion to amend the resolution and allow the mayor to appoint a new member to the police commission, and that is Cheryl Michaels. Do I have a motion to consider that? Troy, second. John. All those in favor of just altering the resolution? This is not the vote. This is to alter the resolution. Please say aye.
Aye.
You can vote on that one, Tom. Any opposed? Very good. So that's 8-0. And now the resolution is to appoint Cheryl Michaels to the Police Commission. Motion to. It's on the floor. So Bill Carpenter, second. Katie Silliman, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 And now I'll ask any opposed. And I'll ask, Tom, are you abstaining?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. So it's 7-0-1. It's like hockey, there's a tie. And second resolution, authorize the mayor to appoint Mike Whitlock as a member of the Police Commission. Motion to consider. John Bennett, second. Katie Silliman, discussion.
Yeah, real quickly, I just want to thank these people for stepping up and, being willing to volunteer for this. There have been some changes in our approach as a result of the Executive Order 203, and this is one of the reforms that came out of that. And there's some other reforms too that they will may have to deal with going forward in terms of anything that might occur within the department that they didn't necessarily have to deal with before. So I just want to thank these folks for stepping up and being volunteers and stepping into a little bit of a new situation. So I think it's commendable, very commendable.
Danny. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes 8-0. So that means 7 and 8. So now we're on to agenda item number 9, resolution to authorize City Police Department to transfer $500 from the gasoline budget to the vehicle maintenance line. Motion to consider. Oh wait, Paul? That's Chief Sandy.
Brian, there is a typo in that that's supposed to be 5,000.
Motion to consider, since we do not have, the motion has not been made official yet. So I will ask Counsel, authorize the police department to transfer $5,000 from the gasoline budget line to the vehicle maintenance line. John Bennett, second. Bill Carpenter, discussion.
$500 wouldn't buy one tire. I didn't think that was right.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carries.
Didn't you know that gas dropped down to 42 cents a gallon? 500 gets a lot now these days.
Oh, it's new electric vehicles we just purchased.
Starsky and Hutch. Oh, wait a minute, Hutch. We got to plug it in. We can't chase the bad guy. Okay, moving on.
Agenda item number 10. Consideration of a resolution authorize the mayor to enter into a purchase agreement and sign all necessary agreements to transfer Parker School from the school district to the city of Cortland. Motion to consider. Sam Adams, second. Katie Silliman, discussion. I'll start with Mr. Bennett.
I will be quick. Everybody knows where I stand on this. I've let my opinions be known. But I do want to thank certain people. I spoke to 2 of them today. I'm not sure if both ladies are watching, but I do want to thank them. One for understanding where I was coming from. So I publicly do want to say to you again, you know how much I do respect you. The second one, I want to thank for really trying to do something that could have been really helpful to this project. Unfortunately, it fell through, but this person who deals with the nonprofit deserves a lot of kudos for what she tried to do. So I just want to thank those 2 ladies, and that's all I've got to say.
Very good. Further discussion. Mr. Michaels.
I don't think, not one of us on the council don't see the actual need for this program to move forward. In my estimation, that there are still some items that are a little gray in my mind regarding where some of this money is going to come from and how we're going to pay for it. I would feel more comfortable once we look at the architectural plans to see exactly how the costs are going to play out. I think there are a lot of hidden costs that are going to come forward that we're missing. But you know, there's air quality issues that are going to have to be addressed now because of the COVID outbreak and classroom size and everything. That's something that just came into play this last year. So there's, in my mind, there's still some unissued things that have not been addressed.
Katie Silliman.
While I respect that there are people who have their doubts, I don't think we're going to be able to nail down every single thing. And I think we have enough information to move forward. And I would like to remind everybody on council or future council members, since there are people who are leaving council, that we will be approving every step of this project. And we'll have a lot of control over it. I also want to emphasize that the two childcare entities, CAPCO and the YWCA, are incredibly invested in making a success of this. They will be investing quite a bit of their budgets into it. And as a teacher, I don't know if people really know how education has changed in recent years with Common Core. If you come to kindergarten without number sense, without some understanding of your ABCs, without the fine motor control of being able to write your own name, those things do get taught in school, but everything goes so quickly that if you don't have a basis for understanding, you can very rapidly get lost as a little kid. And we have a lot of families relying on the public education to carry the ball and educate their children. There aren't as many parents, it seems to me, who are able to, sit down with their kids and teach them these preliminary things. Maybe they're holding down two jobs. Maybe they're single parents for whatever reasons. Maybe they themselves weren't too confident in school, and the language gets pretty complicated as you go along through the Common Core, rise up through the grades. I mean, the math is incredible. Anyway, my point is that it's worth investing as a community in quality childcare that will begin that early education, and think of it as an investment for the long term, that maybe you won't be paying for as many teachers' aides or special education down the line. So that's my piece. I think this is worth pursuing. And I think we might not have exhausted every question with an answer, but I think we've answered enough of them to proceed. And so I'm definitely voting yes for this.
Sam Adams.
Thank you. I just wanted to add a thank you to Assemblymember Kellis for confirming the grant money for this project, that it is there for this project, which is helpful to know. And then just a really quick piggyback on what Katie was talking about. This is just the start of the project, basically getting the process moving and allowing us to get answers to the questions that we have in terms of some of the timeline, which we really can't get until we start getting those proposals in. So I am looking forward to seeing this hopefully go forward tonight.
And I would piggyback on both ladies. Recent studies in the last 15 to 20 years, recent studies of early childhood education, speaking of under 5, have proven that it is the gateway to allow children to, as Katie was saying, have readiness for regular school, but also to take them, they will be ready. And so it will move them past poverty, move them out of low income, and all of that is linked. I still highly support. I think enough has been tied down that allows us to move forward. And I'm just saying, as you know, both Katie and Sam have just said, other things along the way, the council will be in control of making those decisions. And, you know, basically because of COVID, everything was, you know, shut down. And we were all set to move ahead if COVID hadn't happened. There was enough lined up. And yes, prices will change. And yes, there will be other expenses that will accrue. But I think the team that is going to be working on it is the best team available. And my vote will be definitely yes to move forward.
Mayor?
Bruce Tyler.
Mostly I echo what Jackie and Sam and Katie just said. I respect some of my colleagues' desire for more answers. I think the longer that we talk about this, you know, there's always going to be unforeseen circumstances. We don't have a crystal ball, but I truly believe that any unforeseen circumstance or issue, problem that pops up, we can solve it. I can't think of any projects we've ever started where we had 100% every single contingency figured out. That's just not possible. There's always something that's going to come about. And we have been talking about this for a long, long time. And I'm not sure who said this, want to echo the executive directors of CAPCO and the YW. They didn't just pop into the community a couple of days ago with this idea. These are highly intelligent individuals who are in command of some very complex institutions. They would not be endangering their institutions and their organizations by something that didn't have a tremendous chance of success. And can I guarantee 100%? No, I can't do that. But we can't do that on almost any project. We have a chance here to do something truly transformational in this community when it comes to childcare. And I, for one, am willing to go forward with this, and I'm going to vote yes on this.
Katie Silliman.
I'd just like to add, one of the concerns that I heard is that our DPW is going to be responsible for maintaining the building. And that is not acceptable. That is not expected. Our DPW is doing a lot right now as it is, and we are not adding Parker School to their plate. So my expectation is that the YW and CAPCO will step up right away and start looking after the building, and any costs accrued by the city that are not reimbursed through grants, et cetera, which is the expectation, or through the monies that CAPCO and YWCA bring in through their own processes, will be reimbursed when they buy the building down the line. So the expectation is, and it always has been, I was on the committee and we talked about this for a long time, is that they will eventually buy the building for the cost that the city has invested in the building, with ideally very little being invested in the building, because we didn't want there to be any cost to taxpayers for this.
Yeah, and if I could add on to that, Mayor.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, I was in contact with Bob Edwards, the superintendent of city schools today, and he assured me that all the way through this process, the school would be a partner, and any kind of maintenance issues, they would have people that would, come down and any questions anybody had, he said, we're going to be a partner in this throughout, because they also want to see this succeed. And I thought that was, that told me a lot right there. And he did share the yearly maintenance costs, and there's been a lot of numbers thrown out there. And he said it comes down to around $34,000 a year to maintain that electricity, et cetera. And I've heard so many astronomical numbers of what that might cost us. And I thought maybe now I'd bring some facts to it. And so I think it's, when I think of that the school district wants to see this succeed, private sector wants to see this succeed. We've heard that time and time again from Bob Haight. And now, the public sector want to see, I don't see this thing it will succeed. And I have full confidence in it. So whenever you're ready to call the vote, I'm ready to vote yes.
Further questions or discussion? Bill Carpenter.
Rick, it's a question for Rick. There is a lien on this, the building? I know that came up.
It is the bonds that were discussed, and it's part of the agreement with the school that they will indemnify us. They come off in a very few years, and the only restriction is that we can't provide space or sell it to a religious organization, because that would violate the DASNY rules. But the DASNY bonds are on all of the school buildings, and until they sell it and they start expiring, obviously they run with it. But the school has assured us that because the bonds are on all of the properties, that they're going to continue to pay that and not be an obligation to the city or Capco or the IW.
Thanks, Rick.
Tom Michaels.
So Rick, you're saying that these bonds will most likely be released within a couple of years?
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to look it up between when I got your email earlier today, Tom. I apologize, but I had the appeals board for the parking tickets from 6 to 7, so I was a little busy. But yeah, it's either 23 or 24 that they come off automatically, because they will be paid off.
Okay.
So it was always determined to be a short period of time, and the school again is paying them because the bonds are on all of the school. So this is just a piece of Virgil and the high school, which has most of the value in terms of the bond, and this piece is not something that should be considered an obstacle to the transfer.
Okay.
So, and Rick raises an excellent point. The district does have the Virgil school. If they sell the Virgil school, the bonds stay with the district. The district continues to pay. That does not keep the district from selling it. And if the city were in a position where we wanted to sell the property down the road, we would not be restricted by the bonds.
So, sorry. So I guess we're not too concerned about the cost that may arise regarding what the architect may come up with.
I am looking here because is Kelly Tobin present and able to speak, or are there dogs and children that are in need of attention? Which, looking at the time, it is, oh, yep.
Hello.
Dogs and kids that need attention.
There she is.
Yeah. So Mrs. Tobin, for those who don't know, that's my wife. Every now and then it gets out there in the public, so I want to make sure that we recognize the relationship. But Mrs. Tobin, the question was with regard to potential costs. And I think I know you're best qualified to answer this. So there was a Tetra Tech study that was done on all the facilities, and they came up with $5.5 million in terms of Parker School. And that was when the school district owned it. Can you share with council and the public a little bit about what the potential costs are for occupancy and how you arrived at that number?
Sure. So the Tetra Tech assessment, over 800 pages of assessment, which I went through line by line. What we have to recognize is that the school district had the assessment done for it to operate as a school. We're looking to occupy the property for licensed daycare, which is very different from regulations of the school, which might be surprising to some. So we went through that and looked at what we would need in order to occupy. We actually have the YWCA has an architect that we've worked with for many years who we trust and who was generous enough to do some pro bono work for us. So they looked at the Tetra Tech assessment. They're very familiar with OCFS regulations, which is the child care licensing agency. And they were able to pull through what we would need to look at, both from the YWCA's perspective and also from CAPCO's perspective. Even though we're both licensed daycares, there is some differences of what the agencies would need based on the ages that we're looking to serve. So our architect did that, looking at the assessment, but then also came on site and walked through the property with us and was able to get an intimate look at some of the bigger concerns that the Tetra Tech assessment identified, one being the HVAC system. We had individuals from both our architect firm, but also the school district there that has been maintaining the property so that we could get really intimate with what's the short-term, kind of midterm and long-term costs. And that's how we arrived at what the move-in, and actually we have costs that are projected out for 10 years. There is no crystal ball, but we always try to take a look at what's coming so that we can have an idea of, once we get in, the request for grants won't stop there. This will be an ever-changing project, which is what we do every day at both CAPCO and the YW, to make sure that we're aggressively seeking the resources that we can bring to the Cortland community for this project.
Very good. So the costs, just something in there that I want to make sure did not get lost. The costs in terms of the estimates were done by a professional architect, correct? Yeah.
Do we know if this is the same firm that we may consider hiring?
Well, certainly they would be able to apply. We would go through proper protocol and procedure.
That's right.
The city,
Yeah.
We would put out and solicit 4 bids, and we would want to go with the best, most competitive, high value, competitive bid for the city. So yes, that firm would be welcome and encouraged to apply.
I know Kelly's been a real advocate for going after these funds. She doesn't plan on retiring anytime soon, is she?
Sadly, I will admit I'm only 40.
Oh, okay.
So I've got some time here.
Oh, that's good
But no, I don't. And, I think it's pretty honest to bring up that there, is going to be some changes with the agencies, but both CAPCO and YWCA have worked closely for the last 3-4 years now on this project. We have a really good, transparent relationship, and the success of the project is important, and there will be succession planning, built into that as well. And the city leadership changing too. A lot of factors that are going to be different. But I think we've proven that we can stay committed.
No, I did hear that Lindy's retired. Is that true?
That is true.
Okay, I did hear that. Yeah. So we're going to be losing that advocate at that end.
I am confident that her agency will select an amazing executive director. It will be hard to fill those shoes for sure. But I know they're conducting a search. I think they're getting pretty close actually to making a determination for the position.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Further questions, discussion? All right, we're gonna ask for a roll call vote. And this is to enter into a purchase agreement and sign all the necessary agreements to transfer Parker School from the school district to the city of Cortland. First ward,
Aye.
second,
Aye.
third,
Aye.
fourth,
Nay.
fifth,
Aye.
sixth,
Aye.
seventh,
Nay.
eighth.
Aye.
Vote passes 6-2.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, folks. Yes, it's been a long time coming, but it was worth the wait. So, and so many questions have been answered. So,
All right. I think we got a ways to go yet, but
Yep.
I like to think that we're on the right direction here.
you know, Tom, I just want to say, this is a bipartisan decision, and you know, it seems like those are so rare in America today. And here in Cortland, we can still pull that stuff off and come together and do what's right for the community, despite what our political affiliations might be. So I just want to point that out to folks.
Bruce, it was the teaching side of our community that really pushed for this. They're the ones that know that there's a need for this, and they all pulled together to try to come to some consensus where we actually come up with a building to start this next phase.
Right. So
there's several in my ward that would rather see the money go into City Hall and some of those needs. And I hope through the budget process, we're going to be able to rectify some of those issues.
right. I know we'll have numerous strenuous discussions in the future, but it makes me feel proud to be part of a local government that can reach across the aisles and vote the majority of what we feel is the best interest of our community. And that's not to in any way disrespect my colleagues who felt that there were still some things they needed answered. I get that, but it just seems like in America lately, it seems to be hard to get this. And I just want the folks in Cortland to know that we do truly look out for what's in the best interest of this community when it comes right down to it. At least on this issue.
And I appreciate those people who are pushing us to get the answers to hard questions.
Yes.
And they're out there, believe me.
The people and the questions.
The answers are the people pushing.
People pushing.
Well, the answers are too, so we'll get there.
Absolutely. This is potentially a major step forward for the community. There's so many boxes that get checked in terms of what we're going to do for kids, for the workforce, for employers, for the center of our city, just revitalizing that neighborhood. So the next question, agenda item number, 9, 10, 11, consideration of resolution to authorize the mayor to prepare and advertise the RFP for the rehabilitation of Parker School and to turn it into an early education center. Motion to consider. Bill Carpenter, second. Katie Silliman, discussion. So this would be where we would put out, asking for somebody, put out to bid, asking for somebody to do the design work. And we would solicit, preferably aggressively, to make sure that we get a very qualified and well-priced applicant. Questions? Tom?
Will both organizations be working with this firm to make sure that everything's included that they want to see done, as well as follow state and local regulations?
Absolutely. I think it's another important partnership. And, there's so many partnerships that we've had. We purchased a leak detector system for the water system along with a couple other municipalities. We've been aggressively pursuing leaks in our water system so we can continue to improve our infrastructure. the assessor's position where we partner with the town of Homer and the town of Virgil. My gosh, we've got the tub grinder that we partner with the village of Homer and the town of Cortlandville, and we're sharing and working on that. This would just be another partnership for the city, and this is the kind of thing that we need to do to move forward. I would not want the city itself to take on childcare. We want experts in the field. And certainly between Head Start, Early Head Start, and the childcare programs, we have two outstanding agencies that have done a tremendous job with the children in our community. So yes, they should be partners through and through. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? 7-1. Beckwith against. And agenda item number 12, resolution to authorize the mayor to then select and execute a contract with a contractor presenting the best offer regarding Parker School. Motion to consider. Katie Silliman, second. Sam Adams, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? 7-1. Beckwith against. Agenda item number 14.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I may interrupt, if I can get council's approval, I would like to add one agenda item, which would be very quick. We all received an email from Mac yesterday morning. Today's Tuesday, correct? Yesterday morning, and actually this would be an agreement that, well, it's best if I'll read what the agenda would be, but the bottom line is we would be in receipt of some additional revenue. So
By all means.
if Devin and Ray are listening, this would be what the agenda would be. A consideration of a resolution to authorize the mayor to execute the settlement agreement with Avangrid Incorporated for the payment of gross receipt taxes. And that would end up being, I think it was $8,500 for the city. So that would be the consideration. Do I have council's approval to be able to add that?
I approve. Good. Yes, John. I think
Yes,
it's a good idea.
thanks for catching that, John.
Yes.
Any objections? Very good. And by my count, that'll be at the end, and that could be agenda item number 22. We'll see as it shapes up. Because number 13, if my count is correct, consideration of a resolution allow the mayor to enter into an agreement with Bird Adams Disposal. This will extend our current agreement for 1 year at the rate of exactly $300 per ton of trash collected. And the term of this agreement, this will be from January 1 of 22 through December 31st of 2022. Motion to consider. John Bennett, second. Bill Carpenter, discussion.
Nick, how much did that up? Nick still on there?
Yeah,
yes.
what'd you say, Troy? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How much is that up per ton?
267 to 300 is $33.
And how many tonnage we do in a year roughly? Do you have any idea?
Yep.
I'm sure you do.
It used to be about 2,000, and it's probably these days right on point to hit about 1,600.
So it's an increase of almost $53,000.
Let me see my notes here. Yeah, I believe so. Depending on the tonnage that is actually collected.
Yeah.
Did any of you folks have any questions? I think I sent out some information with about 10 bullet points. And it was kind of wordy and lengthy, and I apologize for that, but I didn't know if you folks had any questions for me. I mean, it seems like a kind of a drastic increase, but if you keep in mind that the next lowest bidder's bid price for 2019 was still $5 more than that, I think that it's going to be a lot more than that if we bid it out at this moment.
It's not gonna be any lower with fuel prices, so
No.
you better lock it in.
Yep. Yeah, I did want to let you all know too that I know in that email and in conversations I've had with some of you and the mayor, I'm looking at trying to provide you moving forward, into next year. If you guys did want to extend this, doing a really deep dive in what our options are for garbage collection and recycling. I've already reached out to numerous vendors and professionals in the surrounding counties, and I think I should have a lot of good information for us to make a quality decision moving forward. But today, I think that instead of reinventing the wheel, this is the kind of the way to go right now.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, Nick, thank you for that. I do think next year there's going to be some hard decisions to make. The blue bag system has worked on one hand, and it's paid for the cost. And again, basically, the more garbage you make or create, the more blue bags you have to buy. So it's worked in that regard. But from what I see around traveling around the state, I am seeing more and more haulers going with the tote system, if that's what you call those cans, the totes or whatever. Unfortunately, what that means is, it gives them a way to cut labor cost.
Sure.
Unfortunately, that's business. I think the city might have to look into that, because anybody that would continue with the blue bag system would mean having to continue with the labor.
Sure. There's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, I think next year's council and whoever the mayor is should be getting right onto it as soon as possible next year. And I wish you all luck with it. It's not an easy solution at all.
That was actually my question for Nick. Looking ahead, when should we really start making sure that have this on our agenda and on our minds, that we're making these decisions early enough to do, good bids?
Are you volunteering to help me with this initiative, Sam?
I actually am. Yeah, I
Okay.
would. It's maybe not glamorous, but I am certainly happy to help.
Great.
Sam, January 3rd. I'm serious.
Yeah.
The sooner the better.
I think that if we do it in the beginning portion of the year, at least start to cultivate the information, then that way, I don't know, April, May, June, if we're ready to put something out to bid for the following year, I think would be in really good shape.
Awesome. Definitely loop me in and we'll get it done.
Yeah, typically, like when we bid out projects, if they're construction projects, there's a time frame where you're going to probably get better bids. This type of work, a multi-year garbage collection contract, I'm not saying that it wouldn't, but if the contract is up December 31st and we're ready, obviously substantially before that, I don't know that, starting a contract at that time is really going to affect the price like it would during the construction season. As long as we give vendors ample time to plan for this type of work, I think that we'll be fine.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, you really want to start this process before Nick gets into his construction season and paving season. So I would think that we should have something by April.
I will relay that. I know that, and I think this is good for council and the public to hear. Nick and I have had numerous conversations on this. I am confident that he is exploring all the options that would be available to the city, and we'll be able to present to council, to the public, hey, here's what can be done with regard to trash collection, and leave it up for us to And when I say us, I mean council and whomever is in these seats, making the decision about what makes the most sense, what's going to be appropriate for the city moving forward. All right, further discussion. I believe we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carries. That was 13. Number 14, resolution to authorize the issuance of a general obligation bond in the amount of $25 million to fund the estimated cost of reconstruction and rehabilitation of the Homer Avenue and adjoining water, sewer, and stormwater infrastructure within the city. Motion to consider. John Bennett, second. Bill Carpenter. Discussion. And if we're talking $25 million, I think we should have a little discussion. Is there a question from council to begin? Tom Michaels.
We noticed that 4 million dropped out. How's that going to affect everything right now?
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome. I read your mind, Kate.
I'm gonna.
Not in any way.
There it is. Matt Cook.
Not in any way.
And why is that, Mac?
Because it's a source of funds. The $25 million is that's the dream price. And you have to dream big, because when you do construction projects like this, things just drop out. i.e., Clinton Avenue started out as 26 million. At the end of the day, we're spending a little over 18 million. Things drop out. So 25,000 has all the 25 million has all the bells and whistles. The FEMA grant that went away, the earmark that we did not get, that was just one of the sources of funds that we had on our list to go after. 25 million is the cap on the project. However we arrive with that, is the earmark was just one that I have to cross off the list. So it has no effect. I just not going to get that. I'm not going to get money from that source.
Not this year.
Not this year.
So how much?
This starts at Clinton Avenue. Go back.
So Mac.
Yes.
What would we be committing to this evening?
To the full cost of an all-inclusive Homer Avenue Gateway project. It won't be that, because there will be things that we will never find the money to do. But like I said, things disappear. I was once told that the Roman Colosseum started out as a dome.
So if we pass this evening, are we going to have a check for $25 million in the city bank account tomorrow?
There is no way in the world, as I said in my email, that we will ever put out a $25 million bond. Because if we're going to do Clinton Avenue like we did Clinton Avenue, and like we do almost any other major infrastructure program, it has to be grant funded. We have to go to the agencies. We have to turn over rocks to get it, because the tax base in Cortland can't afford it. So 25 million is the dream price. And as I said in my email, Environmental Facility Corporation, which we are writing this grant for, requires a bond resolution for the total cost that the project will ever be. Even though this project probably in the end, in 8 or 9 years when it's done, we'll probably only be able to raise about 10 to 12, $13 million for it, which means half of what we would like to do won't be done.
So at some point in the future, council will be asked to approve an actual dollar amount. This is authorizing up to, and at some point there would be another vote by council to approve what that actual number would be.
Yeah, but I honestly, I don't see the city being able to bond for this project with our debt. because we won't be able to service the debt. Like I said, the Environmental Facility Corporation uses these resolutions as evidence of readiness when they evaluate the grant proposals.
So this puts us in a better position to apply for those grants.
It puts you, if you do not do it, you cannot apply because your grant application won't be accepted.
Yep.
We have done this way now for the wastewater treatment plant, the water plant, Clinton Avenue, the Southside Drainage Project.
So Mac, wastewater treatment plant, how much money have we invested in over your tenure, over the last 10 and a half years here?
Oh, I think Bruce is on the phone. We got to be up there. We got to be close to bopping 14 million.
And we've started to generate electricity. We've reduced our costs significantly.
Yeah, and remember, you also have almost $5 million that we put in the water plant.
I think something else you have to remember with what we've done at the wastewater treatment plant is that's one of the big reasons why Burn Dairy has a plant out there in Cortlandville, because of how we upgraded that. And that is something that a lot of people don't remember or don't know. They might not have come to Cortland County without a wastewater treatment plant that handles right way. So
The Environmental Facility Corporation on Homer Avenue, like Clinton, is only one of the 8 or 9 different state agencies that we go knocking to their doors and pursue their programs.
So we've had major investments, and I know that things like the work that's getting done down on Owego, while it's been that short-term pain and the frustration, there is so much that happens underground between water, stormwater, sanitary, sewer, and the work that's taking place is really helping all of our residents. And we've been very successful in terms of these major projects. And Clinton, Mac talked about 18 million. My gosh, the number of funding sources, the number of dollars between grants and loans. We've been able to correctly manage these costs and not really put a huge burden on city taxpayers, because we've been positioning the city with good decision making to consistently pursue these types of funding sources. And we're talking Homer Avenue from where to where, Mac?
Intersection of Groton to the Cortlandville line, just north of the hospital.
Yeah.
I drive that every day to work and see that there's all kinds of activity going on. And I'm really happy that that corridor is going to be raised up out of blight and something for the city to be proud of, in partnering with Cortlandville and with Homer as well. So thank you for all of your work on this, Mac.
No, I think the work has just started for the next generation. Like I said, I think you can pretty much count on maybe 8 years before you can move a shovel full of dirt on Homer. It takes that long to raise this type of money in the New York system.
Further questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carries. Agenda item number, that should have been 14. Next one should be 15. Resolution abandon and transfer a portion of Alvena Avenue to the Guthrie Cortland Medical Center and authorize the mayor to execute any documents after review by Corporation Counsel to complete the transfer. Such documents include a letter of understanding regarding the respective rights and obligations after the transfer. Motion to consider. Sam Adams, second. Bill Carpenter, discussion. And has been discussed. There were some questions with regard to, and in that agenda item, there was questions that were in regard to the city's ability to access necessary infrastructure, and we retain that right for city infrastructure. And Guthrie Cortland will be responsible for their infrastructure, similar to every other property. We get basically an easement, I think is the best way to describe it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Resolution authorize Corporation Counsel execute on behalf of the city a stipulation modifying the assessment of Conifer Cortland Associates and authorize refunds of overtax payments as necessary. Motion to consider. John Bennett, second. Looking for a hand. Bill Carpenter, discussion. Mr. Van Dodsel, can you give a...
We do this quite frequently. No, that's not true. Every so often we do it. Conifer is the management facility for the apartment buildings off of Pendleton next to the recycling plant. And when it's a Section 8, there's a particular formula that needs to be followed in order to get to the assessment. It's apples and oranges compared to similar property that was sold, for example, on how most of our assessments are made. When the process came up to do this, there were some misunderstandings between Brian Fitz and Conifer, and we needed to work out the proper number based upon that formula. We had to do it within the context of a court system. So as a consequence, we did arrive at the right number. The city school district, the county of Cortland, me, Brian Fitz, and the Conifer people came to the number that is being presented. And so I would sign the stipulation discontinuing the action and settling the proper amount for Conifer to pay for taxes. It's not a significant difference. We're talking the $10,000 to $15,000 range.
Council, any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carries. And agenda item number 17, local law changing the zoning of a property located on River Street in the city of Cortland from R1 to GB1. It's residential 1 to general business 1 known, and this property is known on the tax map as 87.53-03-16.200. And this is what we had the public hearing for at the beginning of the meeting, one of our public hearings, a parcel that along with two other parcels could potentially become a new store and gas station for burned area. Motion to consider. John Bennett, second. Bill Carpenter, discussion.
Well, Mayor, Brian.
Yes, Mr. Tytler.
Yeah, I just, I'm not against this necessarily. It makes sense based on, everything that I've read from various individuals, especially from our zoning officer. But Mr. Knickerbocker raised some points. I just want to make sure we're not putting the cart before the horse on that side of it. If everything's okay, that's my question. I mean, I respect Larry as well as others, so I just want to address that. That's all.
So, Mr. Van Donsel, can you
address that? Named itself the lead agency, and in the course of the site plan, determined that there was no negative impact as a result of the project, including the transfer and the consideration of having this residential piece merge into the GB2. So EF has been filed, and there was a lead agency, and that's taken care of.
Okay. So we dot our I's and crossed our T's on this, essentially is what you're telling me.
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
Okay. All right.
And Tom Michaels.
I understand Rick's comment, but he says he believes so, but I'm not hearing a warm fuzzy feeling that he's totally confident that we didn't miss something.
Well, then you stopped listening to me, Tom. Right after that, I'm confident because I heard what I said as it was coming out my mouth, and then I changed it to, I'm confident we've done it all right.
So being the lead agency, that keeps each separate entity from filing their own secret then?
Correct.
Yes, all right.
And everybody had an opportunity to comment publicly based upon that EAF.
Rick, I think at one point there was some question about the definition, and I see Bob Ray is here as well, the definition of spot zoning and whether or not that might be an issue in terms of this property.
It shouldn't be. In this instance, a smaller parcel is simply being merged into a larger parcel that is properly designated for this industry. It is a landlocked piece. It probably should have been addressed when we did the new map a couple of years ago, and it wasn't. No matter what's going in there, I think that the property includes the use of that residential piece already, almost, without doubt. I mean, it's where you turn to get into that, the car wash part, that little cement slab behind that. So it really has been incorporated. And whether or not Byrne buys it or something, economic development in the future suggests that this is the proper thing to do so that it's a similarly zoned property as the larger parcel of that property. So sure, it's in the context of Byrne wanting to do it, but it should also be in the context of it's the proper economic development move and the appropriate zoning move. And it's not spot zoning because we're not zoning the larger part, changing the larger parcel zoning, more or less just fixing what that zoning is.
And I think that's a good point, Rick, that thing is landlocked. And as I seem to recall reading, for the past 20 years, it's been used as a general business, more or less. So what we're really doing is just, zoning it appropriately in one respect, because it's been used that way. And it's never going to be a residential spot. So.
No.
Right. And there's a question because, go ahead, Tom.
There's still some concerns regarding a traffic study in that area.
Although I have not.
Pardon?
I haven't read it, but I understand that planning board did have an opportunity to review that traffic report and included that in their considerations.
When I looked at the traffic report, 'cause I did dig into some of those numbers, I think it averaged like one extra car per 2 minutes or something like that. So they determined that it wasn't a huge increase and that the overall traffic had been lower lately than at its previous height. So it wouldn't even bring us up to the previous high that it was, years ago.
Correct.
How many council members actually have taken the time to drive in that area to see exactly what this site consists of? And I appreciate if everyone was honest.
I have, and I've talked to the people who own the business across the street, Byron's garage, and they're all in favor of this because it'll increase their property value. That building has been an empty eyesore for a long time.
Hasn't been that long.
I have to say, Tom, I also had an opportunity Friday and then again today, and I haven't done this in a long, long time. And I was like, wow. I was driving down up south on Port Watson Street at about 6:45 in the morning, and I could not believe how many cars were streaming into the city from the south, headed into the city of Port Watson. I mean, it was just a steady stream of traffic. So people, the traffic report said there wasn't that many more vehicles, and I get it now because and it happened this morning too. How many cars were streaming into the city from the south? It was, or more or less, I guess, from the east, really more than the south, more easterly, but coming, you know which bridge I'm talking about, and coming
Yes.
into the city. And it was a steady stream of cars. It reminded me of living in a larger urban area, you know, a long time ago when I was younger. So there's a lot of cars coming by there already.
But
And it's the same way in
Bruce,
745 too.
Bruce, a question though that needs to be asked is some of that added traffic now, traffic that would have continued down 81 and gotten off of the Clinton Ave exit, but because of the construction there, they're getting off in Polkville and coming into the city?
No, I don't know the answer. I said it was anecdotal. I didn't study it, but the traffic study did mention there wasn't a huge. Besides, we're not voting on that tonight. Tonight we're just voting on whether we're going to rezone that. All that other conversation is going to come in the future, I would think.
Yeah, but to Tom's question, yes, I'm down that way quite a bit, Tom, and have been for many years. That little portion, as Bruce and Rick have said, has been used basically as general business for many, many years. It's had dumpsters on it for many years that was used by the business there.
So this, Rick, will this be coming before the council again?
No, the next step will be for the zoning board of appeals to rule on some variances for setbacks and some other items. So that they are the last hearer of this. The planning board's site plan approval was conditioned upon this zone change and conditioned upon the variances being granted by the ZBA. Well, no, there's nothing more coming before the city council. I mean, we'll have to go, I mean, the city will be involved because they're gonna have to get building permits and get engineering approval for everything they do. But as far as a council vote, this is really what you're limited to, this zone change.
Thank you.
Question for either Bob or Rick. The county planners, the staff over at the county, have they weighed in terms of this project?
The staff issued a report and provided several conditions for their approval. They recommended approval. Fern has met those variety of conditions. For example, Speedy's permit relative to the environmental and a variety of other things. Quite frankly, it was the very same things that they asked Fern to do on the Homer project, and the staff recommended approval there. In that instance, the board itself, the volunteer board, approved it. In this instance, they found some competitive issues and denied it. So, but the staff report was very consistent with what they've done in other instances.
Council, any further questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 6-2. Beckwith and Michael's against. And agenda item number 18, resolution to declare a negative declaration regarding the Homer Ave Gateway project based upon the review of the seeker at the 10/5/21 City Council meeting. Motion to consider. John Bennett, second. Katie Silliman, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carries. And number 19, resolution to adopt funding priorities for the American Rescue Plan funds. Motion to consider.
Mayor, I'd like the motion to table this.
I'll get the motion. Bill Carpenter had a hand up. And I think we have to have a second before we can entertain a motion to table. So there's Katie Silliman, there's a second. Bruce has moved to table, which Going to ask if we have a second. I don't believe we can continue discussion when there is a motion to table. We have a second from John Bennett. So the vote for council at this point is whether or not you motion to table the agenda item regarding American Rescue Plan funding. So all those in favor of tabling the item, please say aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Aye, yes.
And opposed? Hearing none, so I am working in the assumption that that is a vote 8 in favor of tabling the agenda item and none opposed. So agenda item number 19, tabled. Number 20,
Mayor,
yes,
tabled until when? Can we
till the next
discuss
meeting.
that?
Next meeting.
Next meeting.
Which would be November 17th or something like that.
2 or 16,
16th.
tabled to November 16.
yep.
Agenda item number 20, discussion on the possibility of the state DOT installing a pedestrian walk light and push button, very similar to the two recently installed at the intersection of Tompkins Street with Owego and also at Prospect. And the idea is to do this at the crosswalk on Tompkins Street at the railroad tracks near Fulmer Drive. So that is down past Mr. Bennett's house, close to the city line, close to the entrance for the Park Center at the college. Motion to consider. Wait, this is a discussion. John, you got your hand up, so let's start. We'll go John, then Tom.
Yes, actually, I want to thank Nick on this, but actually, in a way, this started many moons ago. For those who were on council many moons ago, when a certain student life center was in the process, the city took the lead on that. One of the requests I made to SUNY Cortland was to get a state DOT survey, traffic survey done to see if at that entrance by the railroad tracks, if a traffic light would be needed, especially due to the increased traffic that would be created by the new student life center. Lo and behold, the state DOT said, yes, the traffic light would be a necessary addition. But the trouble was the cost, which was going to be close to $300,000 at the time, which the city doesn't have. The college wasn't going to pay for it. The state wasn't going to pay for it. So now we fast forward to all these years, and Nick called me up and asked about saying that the state had gone ahead on 2 spots on Tompkins Street, added the crosswalk sign. I said, yes, let's jump on it. Let's do it, because there are numerous people that cross there, whether or not if students are in town. Numerous people cross there to walk among the college streets or walk all the way up by the fields, including me. And trust me, this old man cannot run across when vehicles are coming. And I think some of them try to aim at taking me out. But I think this is a necessity. And I think the people that do cross there would appreciate it. And that's all I'll say. And again, thank you, Nick.
Tom Michaels.
When I had my near miss a few weeks ago with the college student there, I started inquiring to find out that this was already started way back when. And once again, one more addition to this whole process. I think I want to thank both Nick and John for pursuing this to bring it to some kind of closure now. But something is definitely needed there, and something visual is better than just a sign and some stripes in the road.
Yes. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, John, for jump-starting this way back when.
And again, to our DPW department head deserves a lot of credit for this too.
Yes, he does.
Nick Dovey.
Well, don't give me credit yet, because it's not installed or approved. We're just trying to start dialogues in talks with the DOT. they thought that it would have more, they thought that the driver needed to come from, instead of myself, the council, and the recommendation for them to look at it and implement, possibly implement upgrades over there. They thought it would hold more weight if it was by the council itself.
An actual vote.
Yep.
So I'll say, I'm going to ask if council would like to pursue a resolution to request that the state DOT install pedestrian walk light and push button near the railroad tracks at Fulmer Drive. Do we have a motion to consider?
John Bennett.
Bill Carpenter, John Bennett. Discussion.
I think we had it.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carries. We'll pass the resolution and pass it along.
Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome.
Right.
Thank you.
Safer.
The other two crosswalks have been really effective.
Oh.
On Tompkins.
Very good. Agenda item number 21, I have discussion of the 2022 City of Cortland budgets. I wanted to give council the opportunity to ask some questions if there are. And I also have a bit of information that I need to share. And along with that, a recommendation. And since the budget has moved from the mayor's desk to the council's desks, it'll be a recommendation because I understand it's in your hands. So at this point, are there questions from council? You have the general fund budget, water budget, and sewer budget.
We probably won't have any questions until we start digging into everything. I think some of us have given it the old once over, and I think once we start diving into it,
Bless you.
Sorry.
we'll have some.
Wowzers.
Didn't we set some dates for some budget meetings? And I can't find those on my calendar. Could you give me those dates again, Mayor? I'll make sure I put them in there. I don't know what happened.
Next Tuesday night, the 26th, Bruce, and then Wednesday, the 3rd of November.
10/26 and then 11/3.
Yes, at, I forgot what time though.
6:30.
6:30.
6:30. All right. Thank you.
So,
And for those of you who may not know, the first session, our finance director will not be able to make it because he has court duty that night in Virgil. So
I believe I've asked department heads to contact Devin to make sure that we are scheduling so we can have a balanced slate for both evenings. So it won't be very heavy on one and very light on the other. One of the topics that has arisen, we've had an annual contract with the town of Cortlandville with the Youth Bureau. And unfortunately, in a request for stability, I've asked for a number and for a 5-year contract because we are providing services regarding the management and advertising and supervision in some respects of the town of Cortlandville's parks. Asked for, well, the response back was half the amount basic, and town supervisor offered half the amount and said, let's come back in June and discuss who is doing what. Unfortunately, I cannot put forward a budget that does not account for revenues appropriately. And to take something fairly significant and say this is going to need to be negotiated in the middle of next year, I wouldn't do that in my budget if I was continuing as mayor, and I certainly will not put the next mayor into that position either. It is standard for municipalities, counties to budget for the year. And we've had some discussions about this in the past. I cannot recommend that we accept anything less than what the city has offered in terms of the ability to manage facilities. So when we head to our budget workshop and we start talking about Youth Bureau, bringing this forward so we can have a discussion at the workshop and you're prepared for it, my recommendation is going to be that we decline to continue the management of facilities, and we adjust our budgeting appropriately. And part of that is also going to mean adjustments in terms of what we charge for outside users of city programs. So I'm not looking for feedback this evening. I want you to have the opportunity to be prepared. So when we get into the budget workshops, you're not blindsided. But we are middle of October. Unfortunately, I received this basically after our last council meeting when we had the opportunity to discuss a little bit and I presented budget. So I apologize for not being able to account for this in the mayor's budget coming forward to you. But I am more than willing to be an active partner in figuring out a solution that makes sure that we have a balanced, practical budget for 2022.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Appreciate that update.
And agenda item number 22. Here it is. This is what John had asked to add to the agenda. And by the way, sometimes things do come forward and are added to the agenda. I talked a little bit about the pumpkin giveaway, and then this that came forward, and I would call this at the last minute. And council does have the prerogative to add agenda items the day of or prior to the meeting. And in terms of adding agenda items, I view it as similar to special meetings. And the rule on special meetings is a certain amount of time in advance or as soon as is practical. So sometimes business comes forward that necessitates quick action, and adding an agenda item at the meeting is an acceptable form. So this is consideration of a resolution to authorize the mayor to execute the settlement agreement with Avant Grid Incorporated for the payment of gross receipt taxes. And I'll ask for a motion to consider. Katie Silliman, second. John Bennett, discussion. This is an amount, our allocation is $8,500.
But Mayor, I think if I recall reading this, and I don't have it right in front of me, the other important part of this is going forward, we're going to be getting increased revenues because this company didn't think they had to pay tax on delivery charges, I think something along those lines, and now they're going to have to based on the settlement. So this will not be a one-shot deal. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I was nodding. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's late. Okay. All right. That's good to know.
Yep, and this was a consultant, and this was essentially, not sure if negotiated is it's a settlement. So yes, it was negotiated, and it's multiple municipalities. So this is where NICOM, which is a statewide organization, New York Conference of Mayors, has once again served a valuable function for the city of Cortland. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carries. Is there any further business to come before the council? Hearing none, we can entertain a motion to adjourn. John Bennett, second. Bill Carpenter. All those in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned. And now that
Yeah,
the
folks.
meeting is over. Obviously, everyone is free to go, but I'm going to make a small statement with regard to the upcoming election. And recently, I heard someone say, "Hey, go out, get to know the candidates, get to know who is running for public office." And I wholeheartedly agree. I think everybody should get out, get the opportunity to meet candidates and hear what they stand. Fortunately, there hasn't been as many opportunities as I think there have been in past years. League of Women Voters has traditionally done a candidate forum. I've been involved in the process 14 years, 7 elections, 2 for city council, 5 for mayor. And I was disappointed that they were unable to have one for city council seats due to a lack of participation. That would have been advertised and shown via the Cortland Voice. We were fortunate, I think, that the radio station, HXC, XHC, and the Cortland Standard were able to have a mayoral debate as well. So there's been opportunities to get to know some of the candidates. But I have concerns because we are seeing heightened tension in terms of elected office. And it's not just locally, you see it at the state level, you see it at the federal level. And government is as good as the people who serve. So I think it is important that we all get to know candidates. And there's different ways you can talk to them. And you can also see things in terms of what people post and how they post it. So here's a fun fact. There's a candidate running for office who has a pretty strong meme game. What is a meme? That's where you create something and you post it to social media. And this individual took a picture of me and superimposed my face onto what I would estimate is probably a 3-year-old girl holding the hand of an adult. And I thought this was kind of funny because, you know, if I was a 3-year-old girl, I'd be a very attractive young lady. But this came to me from other people. Other people saw it, they shared it with me. And the individual kind of didn't have the guts to talk to me directly about whatever it was the issue. They didn't have the courage to address me as a person. And I'm okay with that because it's water off a duck's back for me. It doesn't bother me that somebody has that kind of opinion and that's how they're going to express themselves. What does bother me is this individual, I believe, has a history of bullying types of actions. And we've had an individual who has helped to organize community events that has, I would think, been a victim in some respects. So I encourage you, get to know who's running for council because it matters. And if you're not able to listen to your constituents, if you're not able to represent all of your constituents, then really, what are you doing for the general public? Thank you and good night, everyone.
Good night, folks. Everybody stay safe. All.
Stay connected. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.